Tulsa King is a 2022 crime drama series created by Taylor Sheridan, starring Sylvester Stallone in the lead role. Sheridan is hot property at the moment, building his hugely popular Yellowstone universe. I haven't seen any of those shows, and nor was I too interested in Tulsa King in spite of following the project for quite a while. It was only when I heard people saying it was surprisingly decent that I decided to take a break from the show I'm currently watching, voted for by my subscribers, and took a look at Tulsa King. Sylvester Stallone has a very interesting history with the mob film genre. Coming from a fan's perspective, you'd think he'd have already dabbled in the genre, but he always seems to have danced around gangster movies rather than actually been in one and played a mobster. It looked very likely that he was going to be in one of the Godfather films at one point, which didn't happen. And then there was that Greg Scarpa biopic that was talked about but seems to have disappeared into the abyss. Sure, he played a cop in Coptown and a hard man in Get Carter. He played a small role in an Al Capone biopic in the 70s. And there's the comedy Oscar where he played a gangster trying to get straight. But really there is no project I can think of where he plays a proper mobster in a meaty, serious role. Maybe it's got something to do with his insistence in the past of wanting to play the hero, and it's very difficult to make a gangster look like a hero. That day has come, however, it seems, with Stallone playing New York capo Dwight Manfredi, recently released from prison after doing 25 years not a peep. Immediately after being released, he is sent by his family to Tulsa in Oklahoma, essentially being flogged off, exiled even. And there he builds a criminal empire of his own with a group of colourful ragtag unlikely subordinates. And he runs into trouble with his bosses back home and also a biker gang based in Tulsa. A pretty similar setup to Lilyhammer, I hear, a show I haven't seen yet. It's 9 episodes, the first season at least, each around 40 minutes long, but that includes the credits and a montage of the previous and next episode, so really you're looking at just over half an hour per episode really, very easily digestible. Many of the mob guys are played by usual suspects if you're familiar with the genre. There's Domenick Lombardozzi, who was in The Irishman, The Wire and Boardwalk Empire, Max Casella, who played a criminal mastermind in The Sopranos, Chris Caldovino, who played a 47-year-old kid in The Sopranos, and Vincent Piazza, who played Lucky Luciano in Boardwalk Empire. As well as the classic elements of crime stories where ex-cons come out of prison, like, reconnecting with estranged family members, reigniting old mob feuds, etc. There is an element of Stallone's Demolition Man here, the film where he was frozen for years and wakes up in a politically correct, high-tech society. There are episodes dedicated to Stallone applying for a debit card, taking a driving test, and being baffled at people having multiple pronouns. Overall, like many people who watched Tulsa King, I found myself pleasantly surprised. I'm currently watching a show quite heavy on themes and symbolism, one you have to concentrate and think about. I took a break in between a few seasons and wanted to watch something a little simple, a little light. And Tulsa King scratched that itch. It's fairly bog standard, it's pulpy, nothing you haven't seen before already, and in places the overly dramatic melodrama can be cheesy, and elements of the plot are quite corny and ridiculous. I mean, the first episode has Stallone walk into a weed shop, assault the security guard, tell the owner he's taking over, and that's that. He's now in charge, stealing thousands and thousands of dollars from the store. And he punches people a lot. That's how most of his problems are solved. They do acknowledge his age. He is playing a 70-plus-year-old man, but it doesn't seem to have much of an impact, as Stallone does go into Rambo mode a few times in the show. Don't take it too seriously and you might just enjoy it. I know I did, though it did outstay its welcome, and I found myself watching the last few episodes to finish it rather than because I was actually enjoying it. The show is carried by Sylvester Stallone's charisma and screen presence. He's very good in it, very lively. With the wrong lead actor, this show may have fallen apart. You have to get past what he's done to his face, and you still do get a bit of the old Adrian! But if you can get past that, his comedic timing and his presence as a gangster is solid. It makes you wonder what he could have done in a mob film back in his prime. The side characters aren't bad. Again, it's ridiculous that Stallone's new best friends can hold their own against the biker gang, but there's no real irritating side characters. In fact, the cab driver Stallone hires, the black kid, is one of the more interesting characters. The show delves into his home life, his father's desperate attempts to keep him away from a life of crime. And this could have easily been the cheesiest and most cliched aspect of the show, but the scenes with the kid and his dad were some of the best of the season. They felt authentically handled. There is something about Tulsa King that makes it come off as a bit cheap, a bit unevenly made. Firstly, there is a clear disconnect between the scenes in New York and the ones in Tulsa. Even the aspect ratio. I noticed that the New York scenes were done in the 1:85 format and Tulsa was mostly in the 2:35 one. Though it wasn't consistent, again going back to the cheap feeling, I think they were trying to make it easier to work out where scenes were taking place. And the New York stuff does feel grittier compared to Tulsa, which has a lighter air about it. Sometimes it feels like you're watching two different shows. One where ex-con Stallone is desperately trying to reconnect with his daughter and trying to mitigate the pressures coming from his mob family. And then there's another show where Benny Fazio shakes with anger when his neighbor's dog shits on his lawn. People spend their time riding horses around carefree. And a biker gang declares war on some hippies for control over a nitrous balloon racket. I mean, couldn't it have been heroin or something instead of party balloons? But other things too, basic things. I just recently watched the last episode, and there's a scene which ends, and immediately it cuts to another scene with the guy just as he starts speaking, with no establishing shot, no break. It felt like there were a few frames missing. There's a scene where a major character is shot and some emotional music swells up, but the sound mixing was really poor and detracted from the moment. Even the final shot of the season of Stallone in a car, it lasts for literally about 3 seconds before the credits immediately roll. It's really weird. The editing in the show is very shoddy, and I noticed these things more and more towards the end of the show. It was as if the editors were getting bored and tired and started to get sloppier with their jobs. And because of things like this, and the knowledge that Sheridan is very much invested in his Yellowstone universe, you get the idea that Tulsa King does sometimes come off as a side pet project where the creators didn't give it its full attention. It did start to run out of puff towards the end. The start of the show was nice and surprisingly watchable. It's more of a light comedy for geezers than a crime drama, but it did get stale quite fast. Like I said, approach it in the right way and you'll enjoy it, but the more you research it, the more strange the final output seems. As for example, names like Terrence Winter are listed in the credits. And you think to yourself, isn't that the creator of Boardwalk Empire and one of the writers of The Sopranos? Surely the writing should have been a lot better. Tulsa King is not prestige television. It is more of a comfort food kind of show, one to turn your brain off and relax while watching. The people most satisfied, I think, will be Stallone's fan base, as it's around 5 hours worth of him being a badass, constantly getting the better of anyone around him, and it is heavily reliant on his magnetism. It's goofy, but very much enjoyable. That being said, the concept doesn't quite match the content, as it doesn't really feel like you're watching a show about a man readjusting to life after 25 years in the can. More like Stallone hanging around with a bunch of millennials going, "I don't understand you kids." I guess one of the issues is that it doesn't lean hard enough into a genre. Like, if it's a comedy, make it more funny. If it's a mob show, make the stakes feel more real and put some real drama in it. If it's a cowboy show, and it did feel like the creators were itching to show more of the cowboy stuff and the horses, then lean heavier into that. But because it dabbles here and there, it ends up feeling a bit empty, when there was definitely potential for more. All in all though, it's okay. What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching.